Thank you for joining FCSUA today for a special webinar from Able United. My name is Iris Neal, and I'm the Program Manager and Outreach Coordinator at Florida Center for Students with Unique Abilities. At the mid-year progress update last week, many of you stated that one of the biggest barriers to employment was that families were concerned about losing SSI benefits. This webinar will provide you with some beneficial information that you can use to empower parents and students to make informed decisions about their financial future. Able United is a collaborative partner with FCSUA to further help the Floridians with a disability that we serve in FCCTP programs to save money while protecting their public benefits. As you heard, this webinar is being recorded. We welcome John Finch from Able United as the presenter today. And I'm going to give it over to John.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Iris. I appreciate you all. And I'm going to start a presentation. My name is John Finch. I'm the director of the State of Florida's ABLE program. I'll give you some fun facts and why we're going to be meeting today to talk about this program. But fun fact number one is the piece of federal or state legislation that enacted Florida's ABLE program happened at the same year that the Unique Abilities language passed to create FCSUA. So that's pretty exciting. And then second, the reason why we kind of want to reach back out to you was for you that have the little emoji there. How many of you attended the Florida PEPI conference? The FL PEPI, I think it's called Florida PEPI. Yeah, look, there's one hand. Anybody else attend that conference? There's a couple. All right, I'm seeing people raise their hands all over. Awesome. Well, it's been a while since I've been to that conference, and one of the things I thought was exciting was the recognition of some of the graduates and them sharing their stories on their program experience. And I thought, well, how great it would be to reward these individuals, to celebrate them, and then also to help hopefully get some buy-in from them on ABLE accounts by giving them a $100 ABLE account contribution. So that's going to save at the end, but I want to kind of preference that because I think this is a unique way where we could work together to help educate individuals that you all serve, that we serve about these accounts, and how we could help them achieve some financial independence. So I'm going to share my screen real quick, and we're going to be talking about ABLE accounts, and specifically Able United, which is the state of Florida's savings account. So high level, we're going to talk about the history, why this program exists, who's eligible, what these accounts are for, how this can protect people's public benefits, specifically, as mentioned, thank you, Iris, SSI, Medicaid, allows people to save and keep those public benefits, and then finally how we can work together. So let's talk about a little bit of the history and the legislation. So all the way back in 2014, so over 10 years ago now, there is a piece of federal legislation that passed called the Achieving a Better Life Experience Act. And really, it started even 10 years prior to that when a group of parents got around a dining room table and wanted to start saving and investing for the future of their children without negatively impacting their eligibility for Medicaid, SSI, or anything else they may qualify for. So through their hard work and advocacy, the ABLE Act came into fruition and was signed in 2014 and allowed states to create these different types of ABLE programs. So we have this saying, it's more than saving, it's investing for a better life. And that's really what this account allows individuals to do, is to start putting money aside, watching it grow tax-free, and then utilizing those funds that they've saved to help achieve a better life experience. And that could be anywhere from maybe going to additional classes at college, university, paying for that higher education expenses, putting a down payment on a home, buying their groceries, or even going on a vacation. But it's really cool is when this legislation passed, it really broadened for the types and the different kinds of individuals that could qualify. So it started primarily in the Down syndrome community. With Jen Sikora, Sean, she was at that disability roundtable many years ago. And so through her hard work and advocacy, it opened up the door for a lot of individuals. So for example, Alicia here, who utilizes a wheelchair, wants to save for a wheelchair accessible vehicle to help her get transported easier around the city. Or maybe it's for somebody that's not even on public benefits, like Sean here and his mom, Sandra, putting money aside to allow him to save for future expenses. So that's Elliot. I'm sorry, not Sean. But yeah, so it's pretty cool on the types and who utilizes this account and what they're utilizing it for. Now, what's unique, the state of Florida's ABLE program is actually housed under the Florida Prepaid College Board. So if you work at a state college, a university, a tech school, you might see some students utilize Florida prepaid plans to help pay for their higher education expenses. Well, that same state agency is also managing the ABLE program. We're what we call a direct support organization. Basically, it's a nonprofit that's run by the state, and we created it under the Florida statutes there. Now, each state had to pass their own legislation. We passed the Florida ABLE Act, but each state, as of today, there's been 46 states, including the District of Columbia, that have passed their own ABLE programs. Together across the nation, we've established over 180,000 accounts with over $2 billion managed. So that's pretty amazing. Here, just in the state of Florida, we have a little over 12,000 accounts with $110 million invested. So it's pretty amazing that this program, but there's still so much potential. I mean, there's probably individuals in your programs now that haven't even heard of this program, and that's really kind of where we need to hopefully work together to get the word out there, but really make this an easy lift for you all. So we are using Zoom. If you didn't notice that, you can always put your questions in the chat box or raise your hand and we can get you unmuted potentially to answer any questions you may have. But let's talk about who's eligible to have one of these accounts and then who can manage it if they're not able to manage it. First, what's unique to Florida is you do have to be a Florida resident at the time you apply to enter the Florida's ABLE program, ABLE United. Now, that's unique to our program. Some states have enrollment for their state only. Some states have nationwide enrollment. And really, the differences between programs are going to be some of the features, like if you wanted a checking option or a checkbook. Unfortunately, Florida doesn't offer that, so you would have to look at another state's program. But Florida, we have the lowest fees, so it just depends on what your needs are. But ABLE United is the state of Florida's program. The next two requirements are true for all ABLE programs. One is that onset of the diagnosis of the disability had to occur prior to age 26. Doesn't matter their current age now. We have people in the program that are in their 80s, and we have newborns in the program as well. What's unique about that age of diagnosis is actually going up to 46 next year. So hopefully we'll start working more and seeing more people with mental health diagnosis or maybe later onset disabilities like multiple sclerosis that may be able to now be eligible for an ABLE account. So not only do you have to have a qualifying diagnosis or disability, you also it has to be severe. So what does that mean? Currently, if an individual is on supplemental security income, so that's through Social Security or SSDI, they can automatically meet that eligibility criteria because it looks at severity. If an individual is not currently receiving those public benefits, then they would have to self-certify saying, hey, I meet the marked and severe functional limitations. I have a marked and severe physical, mental, or physical impairment, and I qualify for it. We don't require you to submit that paperwork to us, but we ask you keep it on hand just in case the IRS asks for it. Usually they don't, but that could happen. The next thing I want to talk about is those types of diagnosis. So pretty broad. Most likely anybody that's in your programs is going to qualify, right? So you see autism on here, Down syndrome. There's also cystic fibrosis, but it could be blindness, deafness, cerebral palsy, mental health different diagnosis like schizophrenia, PTSD. Pretty broad, and we think that's going to, as this age adjustment comes, it's going to expand even more, hopefully. So, but usually the individuals that you all are serving, they're going to qualify for the ABLE program as well. And what's unique is that the individual whose account this is, the individual with the diagnosis or the disability, they're the owner of the account. The money that goes into the account is theirs. When it's expensed, it needs to be expensed for their behalf. However, they may not be capable or choose not to manage their own account. So if they have capacity, they could choose someone else to say, hey, I want my parents, I want my best friend, I want a close neighbor to manage my account. they can choose that person, or if they can't choose, then somebody else can manage it on their behalf, like a legal guardian, power of attorney, parent, spouse, sibling, grandparent. And what's something else that's new is a Social Security representative payee. So if somebody is receiving SSI or SSDI benefits and they have a rep payee, that rep payee can actually manage the ABLE account on their behalf. We call this person that has this authorized signatory an authorized legal representative, or an ALR. So once again, another acronym. So if you hear me say ALR, that's what I'm referring to, is that person that has that authorized signatory role on the account. All right, so that's who's eligible. Any questions so far on just the history of the program or the eligibility of it? All right, I don't see any yet, so that's great. So we're going to keep going. And there's Q&A, I believe, on this as well. All right, so let's talk about the ABLE account itself, right? So what exactly is it? How do you get it set up? How do you manage it? And all that kind of fun stuff. So it's all done online. AbleUnite.com is our website. We're not affiliated with a bank or credit union. This is a state-run program. So for the ease of enrollment, for the ease of distribution, it's done online. And that's the website you would go to enroll. That's where people would go to log into the account and manage it. And so what is that? How do you actually get started? So when you go to enroll, you're actually going to be going through a system that's created and managed by a company called Vestwell. Vestwell is our partner. They are what we call our records administrator, program management. They kind of manage the login, the interface that you utilize to log in and create the account. But just like if you were opening up any other financial product, we're going to need to know names, date of birth, social, why the individual is eligible to open an account. There is a minimum $25 contribution, and then also selecting where that money goes to. So this is an investment or a savings program, depending on what your needs are. And then we'll highlight at the end how individuals can actually get a free $100 for enrolling. All right, so the account gets set up. You want to put money into it. How does that actually work? What's unique is anybody can put money in somebody's ABLE account. If the person is working, they can contribute their earned income. However, it still counts as earned income, so please note that. But they can have friends, families, if they got a scholarship they wanted to get deposited into their ABLE account, they can receive that. Generally, those contributions are considered completed gifts, not income, unless, of course, it's their own earned income that they have, or even unearned income. Now, there is a limit to $19,000 per calendar year from all sources, so keep that in mind. And there's a maximum account balance of $418,000. Some individuals may be able to roll their 529 college savings plans over to ABLE accounts, as long as it's not tied to any of the Florida Empowerment scholarships. Those can't be rolled over, but a typical 529 college savings plan can. And then they can even contribute leftover Social Security funds. So if somebody is on the SSI, SSDI, and they're getting close to that resource limit of 2,000, they can actually dump those extra funds in an ABLE account. And if an individual is working and they're not saving for retirement, they can actually contribute above that annual limit for an additional $15,060 this year. All right, so money's going in, but where's that actually going? And so you get to kind of pick, an individual gets to pick and choose where that money is being saved or invested. And so we kind of created 8 products, basically. One is an FDIC savings fund. So individuals who don't want to invest their money, like having that FDIC insurance of $250,000, they can deposit in that fund. It's still not a bank account. It's still kind of invested, but it's invested in an FDIC fund. So it's not as volatile. You'll get a small interest return each month. That's something available. We also have investment options. Starting with our pre-designed portfolios. Now, those pre-designed portfolios are risk-based. So there's conservative, moderate, and growth. While the riskier you are, the more of your money is going to be invested in a U.S. stock index type of fund. And so individuals can choose one of those if they don't want to, they want to invest, but they don't know, how to divvy up the money. They can just chuck it into one of those pre-designed portfolios. And then finally is our individual fund option. So individuals can actually create their own investment plan. Maybe they want to say, hey, I want to put $20 a month in my savings account. I want to put $80 in the investment account. They could pick and choose that. And so they could choose between the FDIC, those individual pre-designed portfolios, or any of the underlying funds. So the money market, US bond, US stock, international stock. It's important to know that those are broad-based index mutual types of funds. So it's not going to be, as volatile if you were invested in a singular stock, for example. It's kind of a mutual fund type product where they're made up of hundreds and hundreds of investments into the account. So anytime new money is going into the account, they get to pick and choose where that money's at. Money that's already saved in the account, it can only be moved between those options twice per calendar year. So keep that in mind if individuals are trying to move money around. All right, so money's in it, it's growing, and now they want to actually use the funds. How do we get money out of the ABLE account? And so there's a couple of ways. The two quickest and easiest ways, and where we see most of the transactions taking place, is our ACH or prepaid card. So those usually take 2 to 3 business days. It's, once again, this is not like a typical bank account, so we do have to sell in items. Those items have to clear, be processed, and then distributed. And so it does take a couple of days. So there does require some kind of planning if you're planning on utilizing funds for next month. Individuals can have multiple bank accounts tied to their ABLE account. So when they make a withdrawal, they can kind of pick and choose which bank account they want that to go to. We also have a prepaid reloadable debit card through TrueLink Financial. So individuals who want a little more financial flexibility, maybe freedom, especially if you have, we've had parents in the past that said they love it for their children that are going off or in that transitional stage where they can say, hey, I could put $100, $500 on this prepaid debit card, and then they can use it anywhere Visa is accepted, and it provides a little more flexibility there. Also, there's the ability to request a check, and that can be done online as well. Individuals would fill out, where the check's going to go, how much, put a memo if they would like, and that does take 5 to 7 business days depending on USPS. So just think through that. Either way, they could choose which way the funds come out of the ABLE account. So as I mentioned, maybe they're invested in the savings and some of the investment options, and they want just the savings to be pulled out because they want their investments to stay. They can pick and choose that. Now, when funds are taken out, the part of that funds taken out is hopefully earnings, and those earnings are tax-free as long as it's used for qualified disability expenses, which we'll talk about more here on the next slide. We always recommend keeping documentation for the IRS or Social Security Administration in case they ask. IRS is looking holistically for the whole year, so you'll get a tax form at the end of the year, a 1099 QA. That's going to say, hey, you took $2,000 out, or however much you took out that calendar year, and then how much of that is earnings. And once again, there's no taxes on the earnings portion as long as it was used appropriately. And Social Security, really, they're carrying care if you take money out and you retain it past the end of the month, they want to know what that's going to be used for. So let's talk about those expenses that are qualified. The IRS provided basically 13 broad categories, anywhere from health, education, housing, funeral and burial. But let's kind of deep dive a few of these to give some examples. So what is a health-related qualified disability expense? Well, this could be anywhere from a copay. It could be for a dental procedure, or maybe it's just a massage to help you improve blood flow or oxygen and make you feel more relaxed. That's a quality of life expense, so that would be qualified. Education, maybe it is paying for tuition, books, room and board, internet costs. Maybe it's buying a laptop or computer to help them exceed in school. Maybe it's just buying some books. All those would be qualified, and that's going to help improve their education needs. Housing, as we mentioned, housing could be for a down payment on a home. It could be for rent payment. It could be used for utilities, or even modifying a home to make it more accessible. Transportation could be anywhere from putting a down payment on a car to using ride sharing services like Lyft or Uber. So it's pretty cool. I think some of our biggest successes have been individuals putting down payments on their first vehicle, which is always an exciting celebration. Finally, legal fees. Legal fees can be anywhere from setting up a special needs trust or helping start a small business. Assistive technology and support can be devices or even modifications to wheelchairs. That's going to make them more accessible. And it can even be used for post death expenses like funeral and burial or end of life expenses. The treasurer even put other, right now, they didn't really provide additional details outside of using a cell phone and a cell phone plan to make somebody more independent. That would be a qualified disability expense. However, if individuals are utilizing these funds for non-qualified expenses, for example, maybe they're giving the funds away, gambling with the money, then it would be subject to a 10% penalty plus income tax on the earnings portion. So, but once again, the rules are so broad, and it even says it to be construed broadly. So as long as it's being used to support that person's health, independence, or quality of life, it will be a qualified disability expense. Now that's a lot, and people are probably wondering, well, how much does this cost? And really, the goal of this state program is to make the best value for Floridians. So we don't have an enrollment fee, there's no application fee or monthly maintenance fee, even check requests are free. Now, depending if you invest or save the money, there is some administration fees tied to that investment. When people see performance on their account, it's going to be net of these fees. But just to give an example, let's say you put $1,000 in the most riskiest options, you would pay about $2.90 per year. That would be taken out of the returns on the account. Now, individuals can receive paper statements if they want. That fee is $10 currently, but it's going to go up to $20 soon. So you can always get digital or online paper statements, or so you don't have to have them mailed to you. So that would save that money. And then if the individuals wanted that prepaid card, it would cost $2.50 a month. Any questions so far before we get into public benefits? All right, not seeing any hands raised. So let's talk a little bit about public benefits. You probably are more of the experts than I. Iris, did you have a question?
I did have somebody that just emailed me and said that the chat is disabled. I'm not sure if she has a question. It was Vivian. So Vivian, if you have a question, please, raise your hand.
Yeah. Are we able to turn on the Q&A? I know
Or
we
the
have a
chat.
yeah, the chat might be disabled, but sometimes we have a Q&A.
Okay, yes, I see the Q&A down at the bottom.
Yeah, so they can utilize that if they have a question.
So, wait,
All right.
now we have one.
All right. Well, thank you so much for letting me know. And if please use that Q&A function. Oh, there it
Lots
goes.
of questions.
This might work. Q&A is working. Yes. All right. There we go. Awesome. Thank you so much for trying that. Yeah. So put your questions there and we'll be able to answer them as we go along. All right. Public benefits. So this is an area that you probably have more experience than I may. But high level, we're going to talk just primarily about Medicaid and Social Security, supplemental security income specifically. So Medicaid helps with medical costs for some people with limited income and resources. The ones that you're probably most familiar with are our home and community-based waivers, specifically the iBudget waiver or long-term care. They provide a robust set of services, support coordination. It could be transportation. It could be assisted living, like group homes, for example, adult day trainings, or they could be even utilizing some of those funds to help pay for higher education costs. The rules with those are that generally, if somebody's qualifying for that, they can only have typically $2,000 to their name. The great thing is money in the ABLE account or even taken out of it does not count as a resource when determining Medicaid eligibility. Now, there was concerns when this law first passed and ABLE accounts came about was that, well, if they're on Medicaid, will Medicaid just come in and take all that money that's in the ABLE account? And the answer is no. So typically what's will happen is if an individual has any outstanding qualified disability expenses when they pass, those will be paid first, and then it would go to that beneficiary's estate. So keep that in mind if individuals are concerned. Now there is Medicaid state recovery. If an individual's over 55, that's still subject. So, and there's some additional qualifiers for that. So just keep that in mind if an individual is approaching that age and is on Medicaid. But the good thing is these accounts are really supposed to be expensed during their lifetime. So really planning on how they're going to utilize these funds to get achieve that better life experience. The other big program that we see a lot of is SSI through the Social Security Administration. So Supplemental Security Income is a federal supplement program that provides a cash to meet basic housing needs. Usually it's right now I think it's about $950 a month. Individuals could utilize that funds. However, if they have leftover SSI funds, they can deposit in the ABLE account. If they do that, there's just some additional rules. For example, we submit all ABLE program information on a monthly basis to Social Security Administration, so they know who has an ABLE account, if they're on SSI or not. The big rule is if the ABLE account ever exceeds $100,000, then that's going to count towards that $2,000 resource limit. And then individuals utilizing the ABLE account to pay for housing past the end of the month of the withdrawal, or saving it for a non-qualified expense outside of the ABLE account, then that would be that would count as a resource. So for example, let's say I took money out today out of my ABLE account, it clears on the 30th, and then I utilize those funds to pay for rent February 5th, right? Well, since I retained them past the end of the month out of my ABLE account and it was for housing, that would count as a resource for SSI purposes. Once again, if somebody's on SSDI, maybe their parents have retired and now parents are getting Social Security, and so the child's going to get Social Security benefits through SSDI, that is not going to, they don't care how much money you have. So just keep that in mind. One thing additionally, if there is a representative payee and they are putting leftover Social Security funds into an ABLE account, that rep payee needs to be the one being the ALR, the one managing the ABLE account. I know that was pretty brief on high level, the public benefits section, but I really want to spend most of our time, not most of our time, but the last little bit of our time here talking about how we can work together, right? And that's the goal for me and for you all, hopefully, is we really want to make this turnkey, right? We don't want to have this be a heavy lift for you. It's something where we can create materials, pass it on to you and your students. So I just jotted down a few ideas on how we could work together to really provide financial empowerment for your students. So here's some ideas. Collateral and email. We are very fortunate to have a robust set of collateral, whether that be printed or electronic. We have quick start guides, we have one-pagers, we have all kinds of different pieces of information available in English, Spanish, and Haitian Creole that we can send you all to distribute. I don't know if your schools do like an onboarding packet, like, hey, welcome to the program. But we have a piece that could be perfect for that if that's something you do. And we can even make it co-branded if you would, like a one-pager or something that kind of explains how ABLE accounts can be used during their school time and even after. And of course, that's going to be free to ship. And then also email. If there's an annual email database or an email that you send to people for resources, we would love to be one of those resources. The next is maybe there's an opportunity to do an annual webinar for students or parents. Is this something that you currently do? Where you say, hey, we have this kind of like a lunch and learn, or maybe it's you do a back to school welcome bash. Here's all these resources, whether that be at your school in person or virtually through a webinar. We would love to participate with you all and just give an opportunity to share with this, but to speak to students and parents and have them ask questions for us. And that's always an opportunity. And then this last one, I kind of put free money, right? And this is kind of where I'm hoping that we could see some traction, is to provide unique promotional code that allows you to say, hey, whether it be a collateral, an email, a webinar, we want to give to them and say, hey, just for participating with your program, the state of Florida's ABLE program wants to give you $100 into an ABLE account. Maybe there's other ways we could have other fun ideas for giveaways or gifts. I know iPads are pretty popular, so we've done stuff with iPads before, and they're kind of making like a raffle for people to get involved with. So, but if there's other ways you could think of how we can collaborate, all ears for that. But I also want to give this time right now to provide an opportunity for any additional questions you may have about ABLE accounts using that Q&A function. And I'm going to take a sip of water while we do that. Any other questions? or comments. Hopefully you can kind of see the value of this program. And then maybe you're already thinking of ways that you could utilize our information. So one person asked, does the $25 initial contribution come out of the $100 account contribution? Unfortunately, no. So when an individual does set up the account, they either have to tie a banking account to their account or send in a check for $25. And then once that's part of the process of getting the account established to verify identity. And then once that's done, we'll be able to put the $100 on top of it. That's a good question. Any other questions about this? Well, I know we already went ahead and created a unique promo code for you all that we want to give you now. So FCSUA 100. And Steph can correct me if I'm wrong, or one of my friends. But yeah, this is right now it's active. So if you already have ways where you can utilize this, we're going to go ahead and put that out. If there's opportunities for us to meet with you all directly, we have I don't think we have a chat that we can send to everybody, but I have it on this webinar where you can go and learn, where you can set up a meeting with the marketing team and I, or the public relations team and I, to kind of discuss how we could work with you all. But we really want to make this as simple for you all, right? We don't want you to have to, I know you guys are pretty busy and we already thank you for taking out of your time, but we don't want to make this where it's a lot of work for you all, because we just want to be able to get this education information to the parents and families, because I mean, that's really the key to success. If they don't know how they can use that. So I'll go ahead and put this on here. ableunited.com is our website. We have a customer service. So once again, if there's problems or people have questions about their account, they can always reach out to them. And I'll send this in PDF over to you, Iris. And it has a link. The Able United meeting is a link where you can actually go and it's going to pop up now. We can actually go and schedule a meeting with our team. And then you can say, hey, maybe I want to see about getting some personalized collateral. You can go on here and book a meeting with our team, and then we can set that up with you as well. Yes, to my understanding, this is being recorded and sent to everyone that has attended, as well as those who were not able to. So all this will be shared and passed out. Awesome. Iris, any questions from you? I think we're about wrapped up, but I would love to work with each of you, hear from you, seeing how we could put this information out to the families and the students that you all serve, because we really do see a huge benefit for people. Especially, I think Iris was mentioning that, you know, a lot of people or parents are in that age of going, okay, starting to think next steps, starting to think about what happens when I'm gone. What happens to, you know, how can I help? How can I start putting money aside now? And something we didn't talk about, special needs trust. So that might be something that, you know, your schools have talked to, or bring in people to talk, attorneys to talk about special needs trust. But a lot of times these able accounts work in conjunction with them. And so this really is a tool to help people save now and then expense as they need. So. But that's all of the presentation I have right now, Iris. And see, unless your team or anybody else online has any additional questions.
I just have one, and I think you kind of answered it. So if the teams or any of the programs across the state of Florida have a parent meeting, they could invite you guys to come and present on the Able account.
Yes, we would love to present. I'm based in Tallahassee, but we have about 20 or so individuals across the state that are what we call brand ambassadors. So these are either current account holders or maybe parents of current account holders that represent us at a variety of events. So we probably have somebody in your area that could be there in person if that's something you do. And of course, I'm always available virtually as well.
That's great. Any other questions from the team?
All right. Wonderful, Iris. Well, I will get this PDF over to you along with the link of where individuals can set up a meeting with us if they want to discuss further how we can work together. But would love to get this information into the hands of your students, especially the parents as well, and helping them just seeing how this account may work for them.
Great, thank you so much. And thank you for being here today to explain a little bit deeper about what Able United accounts are about. We appreciate it.
Thank you all so much for your time. Have a great rest of your day.
Thank you.